playing D&D. Wizard gets into a fight with an important NPC. When the wizard realizes who the NPC is, he apologizes and asks, "As a token of my goodwill, would you like me to make you a magical sword?" NPC agrees. Wizard casts polymorph and turns them into a sword, argues that the NPC shouldn't have a will save because they agreed to it.
Be me. Necromancer BBEG. Know that no one is more ruthless than me. Come up with a plan to raise the undead, and with my army, the world will be my stead. But there was a hitch, a gaping flaw. A group of heroes who fought for the law. 5 members strong, and together they stand. To fight off my army and thwart what I planned. Till one fateful day they fought to my throne. The bard approached and stood there alone. He stood with conference and spoke with great zeal. He announced, "Great necromancer, we offer a deal. We have fought your army of rotten flesh and bone. And my friends and I tire and want to go home. Your power is something that we haven't met. To that end we offer a wager or bet. The game is simple and isn't quite hard. All that you do is just draw a card. If the fates are with you and you succeed, me and my friends will simply concede. But if you're to fail, you'll stop your attack on the nation. You will give up your power and your evil aspiration. So what say you, great mage? Are these conditions too great? Surely a person of your power doesn't fear fate. Something about this didn't seem right, but hell, I could defeat them without a fight. I accept your wager, you foolish bard." And I reached for the deck and drew a card. At first I didn't know if it was a pass or a fail. The card that I drew only had an image of a scale. But then something happened and my chest felt weird. As I looked to the bard, I noticed he sneered. And what happened next? Well, the truth hit me hard. My heart grew 3 sizes because I drew a balance card. I realized my arrogance and it made me quite sick. I cursed that bard, that silver-tongued Playing Curse of Strahd made the detective knowledge cleric of Tyr, thinking it would be fun to use him to solve mysteries in this spooky setting. But mostly get used as a heal bitch, while the rest of the party is more attack first and ask questions later. Never have the opportunity to investigate, but oh well. We are playing this at our friendly local game store, with other groups around us playing the same campaign. One of the other groups kicked out a player for being a massive metagamer and deliberately causing TPK a few too many times. For some reason, our GM agrees to let him into our group. He is playing a Dragonborn druid. We stay in this town that has an event coming up in a few days, and the party decides to stick there until it happens. GM reminds us that there is this missing gypsy girl from the caravan outside, and her father wants us to find her. No one really gives a but finally, I get to do some investigating. We originally found her tracks bringing her right outside the town's gates, where it looked like a scuffle took place. Ask the innkeep if anyone ever regularly leaves the town. Tells me that 2 men in the tavern do, for hunting, as well as the town drunk who goes fishing on the lake up north often. Figure that's a good place to start. Suddenly, the Dragonborn player, whose character was nowhere near me at the time, tells the GM he is going to the lake. As I am talking to the hunters, the Dragonborn makes it to the lakeside, where he sees a lone boat already out there. Without missing a beat, the player says he's going to find the boat on the shore. Players start getting suspicious. How did he even know there was a boat on the shore? The GM doesn't seem to take notice. Dragonborn decides to cast off, heading straight towards the fisherman. At this point, I have concluded my investigation with the hunters, and decide to head to the lake as well. As soon as the Dragonborn reaches the boat, he tells the GM he's gonna roll perception on the sack on the fisherman's boat. He rolls low and the GM tells him he just sees a sack. He says he's gonna do it again. He rolls low and the GM tells him the same thing. He says he's gonna roll again. At this point, the whole party is starting in disbelief that the GM is allowing this. Finally, the player rolls high and the GM tells him he notices the sack wiggle. In a panic, the fisherman tries to row away. I breathe fire on him. Oh no. GM explains how the fisherman catches on fire and he screams in agonizing pain as he dies. And the wooden boat catches alight too, and he begins to hear the screams of a little girl. The player just laughs as he rows back to the shore just as I show up to watch the boat burning in the distance. Finally, our paladin stops the game and calls the dude out, asking him if he already did this section with the other group. Lol, yeah. The GM realizes what a f***ing idiot he was, but instead of kicking the guy out, he just tells him not to metagame again. Dad, the dude just ruined my investigation, I'm out for blood. In character, I asked the Dragonborn what he was doing on the lake and why the boat is on fire. The player just looks confused before answering that, and I do not. The fisherman was a vampire and I killed him. I rolled an insight check just to build my case, and clearly this was a lie. I see. Well, even though he was a damned creature, I should at least pray over him so his soul may be at rest. Dragonborn leaves, and as soon as he does, I take the boat out to the lake to investigate the wreck. Thankfully, the GM says it hasn't sunk yet, but was close to. I douse the flames and find the charred corpse of the fisherman and the little girl. Drag their bodies back to the shore and bring the corpses back to the gypsy camp. How we were able to travel to and from the lake so much without hitting an encounter, I do not know. Needless to say, the gypsy leader is not happy to see his daughter burned to a crisp, and the camp looks ready to murder me. Convince the father that I have a suspect for these murders, and as a servant of Tyr, I swear that I will bring him to the camp to be put on trial and face their justice. It's evening at this point, but the camp and the town are not far. The party agrees to come with me after I tell them there has been an update to the missing daughter case. Even the Dragonborn comes, which is kind of dumb on his part. At this point I turn into that guy. As soon as we enter the camp, we are surrounded by the pissed off gypsies, and they accuse the Dragonborn of murder for the gypsy chief's daughter, and for the town drunk. I get called out of character for turning against the party by the Dragonborn player. I explain that my character is an investigator and a priest of Tyr, that his whole shtick is to solve mysteries and to see justice done to wrongdoers. To ignore a case this severe would be going against his god. GM allows it. Cast Speak with the Dead on each corpse to call them up as witnesses. Pretty much the drunk just tells us he kidnapped the girl, because he thought she would bring him good luck fishing, and the Dragonborn set him on fire as soon as he was discovered. Little girl pretty much mimics this, except she didn't see who set her on fire, being inside of a sack. Also a little sad moment of her dad crying over this. At this point the gypsies are ready to kill the Dragonborn, but I am able to convince them to let him tell his side of the story before a decision is made. Dragonborn just turns into a hawk and tries to fly away. 1 health. He just gets shot at and reverts back to his true form and falls down. Gypsies proceed to stab him to death while he is knocked prone. Father gives me a bottle of wine for my help, but tells us that he never wants to see my party again. Dragonborn player leaves, pissed off for team killing. I feel like I did Tyr proud. Be me. Be king of Kingdom Land. Orc raids starting recently. Peasants are dying. Peasants stop giving me taxes. Ask Marshall for advice. Solution.idea. Says to hire 5 random adventurers off the street. What the great idea. They don't even pay taxes. Arrange a search. Marshall finds the most band of to ever grace my court. Tell them to go on the quest anyway, because I may as well at this point. One of them points out literally anyone else would be a better choice than them. Says something about this being metagaming or whatever, probably more than Basri. He's right though. Kick them out and decide to hire a band mercenaries instead. Fade from existence as the DM has to think of a new plot to replace the one the players just up. Good job. Rate my homebrew. All races take 1 extra feat at character creation. No multiclassing. Roll randomly for a race. Everyone rolls 6 sets of stats, then it all goes into a pool. The group will then partake in a grease wrestling tournament. The winner will get to pick his 6 scores from the pool first, and the loser will pick his last. Loser will get +1 to all his stats. Everyone has a chance to wrestle me, the DM, to gain an extra feat at character creation. Tabaxi race. Volo's Guide, 30. 5 Barbarian for fast movement, 10. Elk Totem, 15, while unencumbered. 5 Monk for unarmored movement, 10. 6 Transmuter Wizard for stone, 10. Level 1 spell, Longstrider, 10. Mobility feat, 10. Major artifact with speed, 10. Boon of speed, 30. Total, 135. Tabaxi Feline agility, ×2 speed for 1 turn, resets on not moving a turn. Boots of speed, ×2 speed for 10 minutes after bonus action. Level 3 spell, haste, ×2 movement. 135 ×2 ×2 ×2 equals 1080. Level 3 spell, haste, dash action, plus 100% movement. 2 rogue for cunning action, dash, plus 100% movement for bonus action. 2 fighter for action surge, dash, plus 100% movement. Standard dash action, plus 100% movement. 1080 × 5 equals 5,400 feet for 1 turn, or 614 miles an hour. That is 989 almost kilometers an hour for my European friends. If you have help from a transmuter wizard, cut out the 6 wizard levels and give them to Monk for an extra 6 feet base, or 80 feet per move for an extra 400 feet, for a total of 5,800 feet in one turn. That's equal to roughly 1.76 kilometers. That is the travel for one turn. Fastest thing I found online. Join a 5th edition game. Decide to make a level 5 Goliath Barbarian with 18 strength. Base carrying capacity 270 pounds. Goliath doubles my carrying capacity 540, 1080. Brownie doubles my carrying capacity again 1080, 2160. Going for Bear Barbarian, so at level 6 my carrying capacity would get doubled again. 2160 becomes 4320. My face when I can literally carry the rest of the party without being encumbered if I really wanted to. Alright, what can I do with the ability to lift over 2 tons in 5th edition? D&D stories. 2 players call it a night early and crash at inn. Other 2 players stay up and go looking for a brothel. After getting drunk, they decide to hire an escort to surprise the 2 sleeping adventurers. Pick lock the inn room and escort proceeds to quietly give one player head. He enjoys and lets it happen. Escort goes to second sleeping adventurer and slides open robes. Sleeping player wakes up and freaks out. Polymorphs into a polymorphs into Dude, I actually can't read this. Give me a second, I can't read this without laughing. Polymorphs into a giant gorilla and demolishes small prostitute. Players contemplate the situation. Decide that guards might not understand. Dismember prostitute so she fits in a bag. Scratch the walls and bust out the window. One player leaps out the window with that body bag and goes to bury her in the near woods. Other 3 players start screaming and yelling and tell everyone some creature busted in and took the prostitute they had hired and almost killed them. Guards believe them. Citywide search ensues. The players end up spending the night searching for the dead hooker and the non-existent monster. I don't know how this happens, but I love my D&D group. A child pulls on your sleeve. Be me. First time being a DM. Player wanders into a town square. Have little girl pull on player's sleeve. Cute.jpg. Player decides he has a PTSD flashback to the loss of his friend when he was little. Player punches the child. Rolls natural 20. Kills child instantly. And that's how one of my players started a brawl in the middle of the town, between him and 20 other villagers. My DM had us come across a family of sentient trebuchets living in a forest. If we help them find their lost trebuchet child, they'll help us with siege damage when we fight the big bad evil guy. We thought it was weird, but it turned out to be a fun quest, and the baby trebuchet wasn't orphaned out in the wilderness. But now we have to attune to the mom and dad trebuchets by sleeping in their buckets to show we trust it. I don't know if this is a trap. They appear lawful good, but they get fire immunity, and we get to command word dimensional door the trebuchets where we need them once we're attuned to them. Is my DM recorded? If not, what should we do? Be me. Kenku Monk. Level 3. Clearing bandit ship with friends. Hashtag die pirate scum. Love heights like all Kenku. Climb main mast. Chill under moonlight. Remaining party looting below. Inspired by moon. Decide to attempt flying. Roll natural 20. Don't fall to death. Mimic sounds of joy and bliss. MP3. Glide back down to ship. Falling with style. GIF. Give quiet PC crush named Raven a hug. Level up. My face when I'm the happiest flightless bird. Be a paladin. Played like an efficient SWAT officer. Despise orcs more than you can imagine. Bro it up with a dwarf who also hates orcs. Slaughter an orc village. Rest of party except for dwarf feels like because me and the dwarf are torching huts filled with baby orcs. They don't say anything to me about it though, because I'm the tactical enforcer of the group. Battling in a cavern. Knocked off the side of a ledge. Dwarf bro grabs me. My helmet has come off for the first time in the game. I'm a half orc. Dwarf lets go of my hand. The game table when 1 GM, 2 to 6 players. The days of groups the size of 8 to 15 are long past. 2 to 6 GMs, 1 player is way better composition. 6 GMs, all speak in unison.
What do you do, Aeon?
I guess I enter the cave? 6 sets of D100 rolls. You encounter 3 goblins, a black bear, 2 bandits, a single gnoll, a sturge, a white wolf.
Roll initiative, Aeon.
Fellow dwarves, the time is come. We must conquer the humans and elves. Only under our wise tutelage can these races thrive and advance themselves. Watch your kneecaps, everyone! That's like, I roll to climb. 20. You launch yourself up with such incredible force that you end up in the stratosphere. Roll for falling damage. Roll to hide. 20. You can't find yourself anymore. Make another character. Try to convince the king to give you a pardon. Roll diplomacy. 20. You convince the king to kill everyone ever. Pickpocket. 20. You now hold the man's heart. He dies, and the guards are aware you just murdered someone. Roll to navigate traffic in your Ford Pinto. 20. Arrive in Yemen, wondering how you got there. Brag to desert wandering tribesmen about mad driving skills. Use rope to tie a prisoner. 20. It can never be removed by any means. You're a horrible person for doing this to someone. When the prisoner dies, the rope continues to bind their soul, resulting in some kind of freaky, incorporeal undead that hates you. Escape artist check. 20. Find yourself in the astral plane. Perform as a prince that has to retake his kingdom in a play. Roll a 20. Revolution. Bluff guard to convince him you're taking over his shift. 20. You've convinced yourself. You spend the rest of your life as a guard. Lie to someone. Roll a 20. You are so convincing that you fall for your own lie and believe it with absolute confidence. One of my players said he wanted to convince an NPC little girl that he was cool. He asked if he should roll persuasion, and I said, no, roll deception. Highlight of the session. My trophy room is large and airy, with a magical reinforced glass roof. In it are pictures and strips of cloth. Each picture is of a party member of important NPC who traveled with us. Each strip of cloth was taken from their corpse when they died traveling with us. The storyline we were in involved an entropic being consuming the souls of the dead. There was no resurrection. If someone has died, within 5 minutes you had a slim chance of bringing them back with a spell. My character was, well, I guess still is, a rogue. He started the campaign as an eager level 1, making drawings and paintings of the rest of the party to commemorate events and new people. That was before the war. Before it was his job to report to the kingdom from the other side of reality, sending them images of the slaughter, of an endless mouth of twisted, screaming pieces of soul stuff coming apart. It became a mission for him. He would make a portrait of them all and keep it with him. He had an extra dimensional space where he kept them all. When they would die, he would cut a length of cloth off of their clothes and write down their name on it. The campaign lasted for 3 years real time. There was pain and death and far too few good times, but we saved reality. My character was the only one from the original party to live. Rewarded beyond measure, he grows old. Each day, he returns to the room and walks down the rows. Name after name, he memorizes and rememorizes. Each one is a regret and a cherished memory. My character is rich and respected and utterly alone. Even the others who survived till the end weren't original members. They didn't see everything. From the grey jester that sapped the joy from every child in a village to the sentient bullet that was being tortured for experiments. They don't know, and he will never tell them. That is his trophy room. One very good thing built on a pile of bodies and bad decisions. That's rough, dude. I was thinking about like a nice indoor goldfish pond or something. Start a D&D game with some friends. Create a half-elf rogue named Gorak. Give Gorak a 15 in charisma and dexterity. Intelligence is Gorak's dump stat. First real battle is against an ogre. Gorak gets a crit on the killing blow. Gorak takes a chunk of the ogre. DM. Okay? Later on, we are in a random dungeon for some reason or another. We run into 2 giant rats and a dredge. Gorak rolls to intimidate. It crits. Gorak not like you. They are terrified. Gorak proceeds to kill them all. Gorak takes the dredge here. DM, is this just what Gorak does? Gorak likes to be prepared. We were brought to the mayor because we did a thing. Mayor is sick with Rastrat. Our half-elf druid who studied in medicine rolls to see if he knows the disease. He does not. Keep in mind that we were using Roll20 to do this game. As a joke, I do a medicine roll while the others are talking. I crit. I start laughing my ass off. It takes a second for DM to notice. Gorak then proceeds to tell everyone everything about Rastrat, including causes, symptoms, and possible cures. Half-elf party member is pissed. Everyone else finds it hilarious. Keep in mind, Gorak's intelligence stat is shit. In-game, everyone in room is fucking astounded. Gorak is, against all odds, a genius. Much later, we were in a dungeon filled with riddles. If you get the riddles wrong, you fight monsters. If you get them right, you proceed to the next room. We get a riddle incorrect. We go inside the room, where there's an average zombie and a giant zombie ogre. Gorak checks for a familiar chunk missing. DM, it's a zombie, it has a lot missing. I decide to risk it. Gorak pulls out the ogre chunk and attempts to intimidate the zombie ogre. I crit the roll. Gorak glares at the ogre and crushes the chunk in his hand. DM, the ogre steps back in absolute terror of Gorak. Gorak proceeds to finesse the shit out of the ogre using his rapier. Gorak managed to intimidate a mindless creature 2 times his size. Have you ever played as an alchemist or a character who uses chemistry to his advantage? Are there any IRL chemists on here, like people who went on school for chemistry? This reminds me of a guy I DM'd once. Had a player, let's call him Jerry. Jerry was, and still is to this day, the smartest player I have ever seen. Jerry was our party's alchemist. Jerry also had a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and a master's in chemical engineering. First thing he did was ask what limitations I had with him making things. I made a deal with him. I told him if he could convince me that it can be made with in-game materials, then he could make it. Jerry agreed. A few sessions pass. He asks if he could modify his crossbow to increase the reload time. Me, okay, what do you have in mind? Jerry, a lever action. Wait, what? That MP3. Me, and how would you make that? Jerry, simple. I would make a forked lever that sits flush with the sides of the crossbow that are attached at the hinge. All I would need to do is push the lever down and forward in order for the lever to push the string back to the ready position. After he drew a quick blueprint of his idea, I okayed the proposal on the terms that he had to pay 2k gold and spend 1 week building it. A few more sessions pass. The party was between campaigns. Jerry asked if he could find a way to make poison grass grenades by using our green Dragonborn Paladin's breath attack. Me, how do you think you will do that? Jerry, well, what I would do is have the Paladin use his breath attack and I would collect it in a few jars. From that point I would use a ray of frost to supercool the jars, turning the poison gas into a liquid. After that, I would only need to keep them refrigerated by making ice and putting them into a waterproof container. To use it, all you would have to do is break the jar. The liquid will turn back into a gas due to a rapid change in temperature. After thinking about it for a few minutes, I agree with him on the condition that the Paladin agrees. He and the Paladin made a total of 12 bombs that session. A few sessions later, I pit the party against a gelatinous cube. The party ended up defeating the creature. No shocker there. Jerry asked if he could collect some of the gel for a project. I agree, but ask what he had in mind. Jerry, a battery? Okay, what the fuck that JPEG? Me, okay, how the actual fuck do you expect to make a battery? Jerry, all I would need is a few thick plates of lead, some copper wire, and an acid-proof container to successfully build a makeshift deep cycle battery. Me, and how the fuck will that work? Jerry, the lead will react to the acid in the gel, causing the production of ions that will transfer to the copper wire as electricity. It's a simple chemical reaction. Me, prove it. Jerry decides to pull out his phone and shows me a diagram of how a marine AGM battery works. I go silent. I think for a couple of minutes. I can't fault that logic. Over the course of our time together, he made more and more interesting things. He retrofitted his lever-action crossbow into a taser gun. He built a working windmill generator in order to keep his batteries fully charged. He found a way to transmit psionic signals from long distances using the frontal lobes of eyelinids and a system of probes. Thank God he didn't ask to build a flamethrower out of a red dragon fundamentium and arcane fire. Wholesome Valkyrie lad ruined my encounter and I'm not even mad. Be me, DM. Be not me, human arcane warrior, Aasimar monk, elf necromancer, human Valkyrie, elf Orion. My lads are at a dungeon. Basically have the plot point of 8 secret artifacts of life. At the last room of the dungeon is a nature elemental. NotYourAverageElemental.com. It was a human infused with a nature elemental. Valkyrie walks closer to him, all chill. I look at him, he's being a suspicious lad. Nature elemental casts his weapons and points them at the Valkyrie. Stab me, says the Valkyrie. Nature elemental stabs him. Poison immunity. Nature elemental only has poison weapons. Wait, I thought the Orion had that. We had a trade. Why haven't I heard about that.net? I roll for intelligence. Natural f***ing 1. Nature elemental stabs him again. Valkyrie hugs him. I look like I lost it. It's okay, buddy, you wanna talk? On the verge of bashing my head against the table. Some backstory info. Nature elemental is a trapped soul, forced to protect the artifacts of life. Valkyrie drops his weapon. Such a wholesome lad.png. Rest of the party also hugs nature elemental. Necromancer speaks up. If we kill you, I can resurrect you without your curse. Monk. But I can purify your soul. Orion. Then you will be free. My lads are being wholesome. Almost cry.gif. So proud.jpg. They do it. Nature elemental becomes free. Runs out of the room screaming, I'm free! Only encounter they weren't violent. I love my group. Potion of longevity kills a bird. We'll see how this does, but there are a lot more stories where this came from. Be me, Big Brother DM. Be not me, level 8-ish party. Be also not me, level 10 Kenku Monk. Monk is crazy powerful, has mad stats, and got a lot of cool stuff from a deck of many things. Is also my little bro. No favoritism though, I swear. Also got cursed real bad one time, but that's par for the Kenku course to be quite honest. Number 1 goal is to undo the curse, also to not die around 60 like most Kenku. Anyway, party is on a 4-month journey across the map. Mad Max Fury Road.mp4. Suddenly, a wild storm appears. Party takes refuge in a massive abandoned tower. Seems legit. Kenku and Eladrin Fighter head off and fight a cloud giant to prove their worth and get mild lightning powered magic items. Still no favoritism, I swear. The rest of the party holds off from Orions who don't like said lightning magic. Wood Elf Cleric goes down once, but health potions save the day. Afterwards, party reunites. Crowboy wants to share the loot. You found a potion of longevity? Yeah. Please give. Laughtrack.mp3. No one wants to risk making the monk any more OP. Party rests and the cleric takes first watch. Ends up slipping the potion into That's So Raven's bedroll. Sun rises. Kenku finds the potion. Let's go, I can buy myself a few more years. Potion of longevity has a 10% chance to age you up instead of down. Kenku cracks open the cold one. Roll a d10 bro. 1. But hang on, it's supposed to be a d100. Party actually sides with the monk on this. Sure, whatever bro. He rolls again. 0 0 plus 1. It's fate. Rolls to see how much his age goes up. 11 years. My face when he's now on the verge of death. My face when little bro is desperately searching for a way to save his elderly birdman. Our session suddenly got really depressing, as the monk probably isn't going to live to see the end of the campaign. Let's start a that player thread. That guy who misreads his character's ability so he can one-shot the big bad evil guy. That guy who uses an obscure ruled exploit so that he can instant reduce the dragon to 0 health with no saving throw. That guy who makes an entire character to satisfy his vor fetish. That guy who decides to make a racist character in a zombie survival game where 2 black men are present as players. That guy who bashes a female villain's face against the ground repeatedly, instead of just capturing her at sword point or killing her normally. That guy who rolls his dice and grabs them right after rolling. That guy who rolls for checks before the DM even asks for one, and then says, "Okay, I got 45 on my find traps check." That guy who spends the entire session trying to do things without the rest of the party. That guy who throws dice at the table just because he rolled 2 natural 2s in a row and declares his character useless. That guy who keeps leaving the table during important roleplay scenes because he forgot to do the dishes. That guy who asks for a mystery campaign, then when the mystery starts, decides his character has nothing to do with it and goes upstairs to play video games. That guy who gets salty because his character went off alone and got killed and uses it to guilt the DM into letting him play overpowered third-party classes. That guy who uses his magic to troll NPCs in the city and then bitches when the city guard arrests him. That guy who complains whenever he's attacked even though he just dealt 40 damage to the enemy with a massive, highly visible spell. That guy who gets mad when the enemy uses any kind of tactics. That guy who constantly rolls for insight or sense motive because he thinks everything is a lie, yet doesn't recognize the most blatant lies. That guy who wants to roll intelligence checks to solve the puzzle even after the GM created a special system to gain clues with int checks that slowly lead you to solve the puzzle. That guy who eats smelly Indian food at the table and slurps loudly. That guy who is on his phone for half the session and constantly interrupts the GM to show him Discord memes. That guy who asks the GM to create a list of NPCs in the Thieves Guild, then kills the entire Thieves Guild the next session. That guy who creates a character whose thing is to break the fourth wall. That guy who gets a critical hit on the Ogre King we're fighting and brings up an anime reaction image on his phone, shows it to everyone and says, "This is my character's face right now." What the fuck? That guy who constantly makes references to Steven Universe that no one else knows or cares about. That guy who keeps trying to play Skyrim races and constantly rips off all of his character names from Skyrim. That guy who keeps coming up with shitty campaign ideas based on Vidya that no one wants to play. That guy who gets mad when a player tries to do something outside the railroad he's running, so he has NPCs with stats outside the scope of his own homebrew system show up to stop us. That guy who commits rape in character while the GM's mother is in the room. That guy who calls the GM a cock for not letting him play some stupid psionic class. That guy who makes fun of the GM's custom miniature and later accidentally breaks it. That guy who keeps magic cards in his sleeve and is only caught when he spills water on himself. That guy who constantly rolls the wrong dice for his character to the point it is getting harder and harder to believe it's accidental. Anyone have any good ideas for completely useless magical items? What I have so far. Magnifying glass of ants pick that only works in sunlight. Boots of extra action. As an action, the wearer can tap the heels together to gain an extra action. Stone of gravity detection. Hammer of slashing. Divination 8-ball. Self-invisibility bracers. Only makes the wearer invisible to themselves. Staff of healing. Summons 1d4 heals. Ring of fire detection. When worn, changes color in the presence of fire. Touch range. Staff of buggery. Always seems to poke people in inappropriate places. They'll be furious with you. Rock of cleaning. It's always clean and without any moss. Solar powered ring of light. Provides light in a 60 feet radius as long as the wearer has 60 feet of sunlight around them. Loaf of nourishment. Eating this bread makes you less hungry. Bibard. Party fighting. I'm singing and dancing in the sidelines. No party member says anything, but I feel their displeasure. Playing a nice themed adventure. One night in an ice cave, really cold. Running out of fuel for the fire. Everyone is angry from hunger and cold. Barbarian finally snaps, yells at me for being an attention-whoring cheerleader, and demands I draw my sword. Before I begin to sing so I can soothe him, the party throws me in the fire for warmth. My face when? LMAO nerd! Small goblins. Party kills some goblin scouts. Rogue. What does a goblin have on him? DM. He has a scimitar, a short bow, 7 arrows, and is wearing damaged leather armor. Rogue. I took all of it. You remove his armor? Rogue. Yes. Roll a con save. Natural 20. DM. The small size of what you see builds your confidence. You gain inspiration. So, last night's session derailed hard. Players are at this pirate port at the edge of civilization, very Pirates of the Caribbean inspired. Made a friend in the form of a particular tavern keeper, pumping her for information concerning the notable inhabitants of the town. Getting to one guy who runs the bathhouse, which is a bathhouse/brothel, and she says, "I suppose he's a nice enough fellow for a pimp." Instant confusion, that JPEG. You see, despite all of my players being between the ages of 27 to 32, none of them knew what a pimp was. At first, I thought this was some weird joke, you know? But no, none of them recognized the term, thought it was a game-specific one at first, and were flabbergasted when I showed them the Wiktionary article. Then it diverted into asking why prostitutes even need a pimp, which in turn sparked amateur socio-economic exposition of the whoring market. By the time all that was done, we'd wasted a good chunk of the time we had, and it was impossible to get anyone to be serious again. I'm still not entirely sure how that happened. Has anyone ever faced something similar? How do you regain momentum after something derails like that in the future? Just never had something like that happen before. There's that one story about a player who was killed by a gazebo. GM was describing stuff and mentioned the gazebo. One player had never heard the term and assumed it was a monster of some sort and kept whacking it with his sword. Player starts to get aggravated since he can't kill it, cause it's a f***ing gazebo. The furbolg in our party tasked a squirrel to deliver an urgent written message to our warlock in exchange for acorns or something. When the warlock received the message, he asked the squirrel to lead him back to the furbolg. Then, when the squirrel started running, he followed it. Of course, the squirrel did not understand a single word of what the warlock said, so the warlock ended up atop a very tall tree, trying to find the goddamn furbolg, while the squirrel enjoyed his acorns. Why are warlocks so goddamn dumb? Stupid warlocks. Cleric doing preacher curls. Barb doing skull crushers. Necromancer on deadlifts. Monks on the treadmill talking to the Lego Morphkin about starting sit and fasting. Fighter hitting the heavy bags. Warlocks at the front desk trying to get people to upgrade their membership. Ranger promised to show up but bailed again to go hiking with his dogs. Rogue in the locker room convincing some new guys that blasting Tren will get them into sick other mode like him. Bard stuff squatting baby weight in front of the cardio section, using the mirror to check form. Paladin is reporting the rogue. Druid is arguing with management about how his beast mode stringer covers him plenty and the rules are dumb anyways. Sorcerer is a natty chad and hogs 2 machines. Such is the life at Gaines Goblin Gym. What if the goblin is the Lich? I am Glax, the Goblin Lich. More powerful than any warlock or witch. I was born in a village south of the rift. I was told I was born with a magical gift. All my life I was treated as a scum. They thought my brethren were nothing but dumb. But I had an abnormally large intellect. Because of this, my brethren felt my neglect. I felt I was different from my imbecile kin. With this I left and let my new life begin. For years I honed my impeccable power. I worked on my craft every waking hour. One day I felt the peak of my gift. And with this I felt my spirits lift. With this my plan had soon unfurled. I would set out in order to protect the world. I set out to rid this world of villainy. So I rid a slaver who advocated tyranny. I hoped my action would bring admiration. I soon realized there was a miscalculation. The people laughed, they condescended me. They couldn't believe that I set them free. You couldn't have saved us, you ghoulish freak. Everyone knows all goblins are weak. They mocked the victory that was rightfully mine. So I slaughtered the lot of those pathetic swine. It was then that I realized my evil twitch. I then decided to become a lich. For 30 years my power grew. And so did the piles of heroes I slew. Till one day I found the spells that I needed to use. My soul was severed, and in a phylactery it was fused. Now immortal, my power has rised. So now I seek the slaughter of all I despise. I demand your respect and also your fear. I am your reckoning, your end is near. PDM. Homebrew burning wheel to fit a modern Yakuza campaign. Players make serious mobster characters. The first job was supposed to be simple. Collect the debt money from an illegal immigrant. Only issue, he's hiding in Chinatown. Players decide to hire hookers and use them to gather info from the inside. Learn that he's going to try and skip town via the train system. They wait for him to leave Chinatown before running him over with a car. It did not occur to them that hitting a man at 60 miles an hour into a concrete wall would kill him. They flee after looting the corpse, as is standard practice. Party becomes paranoid about what their boss will do to them when they see him next. Decide to pay the debt themselves. They all sell an organ to make enough money. One of them decides to make the ultimate sacrifice and commit seppuku to spare his brothers. Sell his organs and head to clan headquarters. They laid the money and their friend's severed head at their boss's feet before apologizing for their failure to do the job properly. The boss's face when he was just going to make one of them cut off a finger and pay the debt back a less organ-selling way. A chest of gold. Hooray! After venturing through this dark underground labyrinth, you have found a chest of gold. Collect your fortune. Now all you need to do is move about 2 tons of heavy metal up through a couple kilometers of winding passages uphill while dealing with the skeletons, carnivorous slime monsters, goblins and orcs that you missed avoided on your way down here, while being burdened by said heavy payload. Animate object. Whack, my friendly mass of wealth, whack! Else, if I'm sufficiently advanced, mass animate object. Look at all the coins, oh my god, they're adorable, I'm never going to spend you. I'm just sort of imagining this eccentric, vault-dwelling wizard who saved and animated every single coin he ever found over the course of his long life. They ran errands for him, cooperating just on the verge of competence, like lemmings or Pikmin, and he spends so much time micromanaging them that all the practical benefit he'd get from having all these miniature servants is pretty much void. But he goes through every day with this massive smile on his face, because their flailing pleases him in ways none of us can even imagine. That's absolutely fucking adorable. DM tells us there is a group of goblins worshipping a golden tablet we need for a quest. I come up with the idea to turn one of us invisible, hold up the tablet and tell them that their god has come. The only one who knows goblin is our 6'8" barbarian with an intelligence of 7. Dude can't even count on his fingers. He rolls high enough to convince them. He tells them that they must sacrifice themselves for him. Natural 20. All 29 goblins line up as the shaman decapitates them all. He keeps the shaman as a pet. DM replaces d20s with d10s multiplied by 2 to make critical successes and fails more common. DM makes you flip a coin with one side labeled 1 and the other 20. DM has you guess a number between 1 and 100, and depending on how close you got, he decides if you succeed. DM puts his hand behind his back and tells you to guess how many fingers he's holding up. DM put a chicken in a large pen with numbers 1 to 20 written in chalk on the floor. Whatever number the chicken craps on is the number you rolled. Be cleric. Teammate goes into death saving throws around the wall. Another teammate yells this out to me. Within range of healing word, but can't see them. Moving and dashing would bring me just to the edge of a doorway and still wouldn't be able to see them. Call for divine intervention to healing word through the wall or stabilize them. Succeed on roll. The DM just says divine intervention doesn't work that way. You're fully justified in stabbing him. Redesigning, revamping classic fantasy races. In this thread, I'd like us to share and throw around some ideas on how to liven up the classic fantasy races. Elves, dwarves, orcs, gnomes, halflings, and humans to make stuff a bit more exciting. What I'm specifically looking for is fun quirks, mechanics, and detail that would set the races more apart from each other, making the experience of playing one more engaging and interesting. I specifically would like to do it with the classic fantasy races because I think it would be easier for the average players to get into something that looks familiar to them. Please share your thoughts and ideas that you used in your settings or seen in the other media, especially weird ones. Just make everyone more of what they already are. Elves are now gangly, terrifying slendermans with huge ears that move with boneless liquidity and live forever. Dwarves are now massively dense stone people who speak only in grumbles and grow massive crystalline beards. Much like dragons, they live basically forever and live mainly for gold, and the larger their beards grow, the more powerful they become, until they resemble massive crystal monsters. Halflings are even shorter and even luckier. In fact, halflings are now brownies, tiny face spirits who will fix your shoes if you give them milk, and punch you in the if you don't. Orcs are orkier. Make them green gorillas who live to fight against everything bigger than they are. They eat raw meat, have Edward Scissorhands steer claws instead of hands, and are made only for fighting. Any society they build in the process is solely for the purpose of facilitating fighting. Humans are more human. Everyone is a Siamese twin with 4 arms. Gnomes are and don't get to play with the cool kids. Wild mages. How do you properly play a wild mage? Be me, wild magic sorcerer. Be playing 5th edition. Party and I were trapped in a dungeon by the big bad evil guy. Been fighting monsters and trying to find a way out. We then come across an ancient book. We choose to examine it. DM tells us it's a book written by the architect of the dungeon. We attempt to read it. DM tells us it's written in Abyssal. None of us know Abyssal. I come up with a plan. I use the spell Comprehend Language. DM tells me to check for wild magic. Roll a 1. DM tells me to roll percentage to see what happens. Roll a 57. DM checks the WM table. He goes silent. After about 10 seconds of silence he looks at me. DM tells me the ancient and ultra rare book bursts into flames in my hands. DM tells me the book is reduced to ash. DM tells me the book held the answers to the way out of the dungeon. My face when I potentially doomed us because of my wild magic. Semi-plot important orphan catches cold. Player 1. Heal check. 1. DM. Roll again. 1. DM. One more time? 1. DM. I don't know, you think that he has explosive wombloses or something? He has the most severe form of wombloses, the explosive kind. Damn, shame. That's the same disease that took my sister's life. Truly, it would be a mercy to end him now. Oi. Make sure you don't get any bodily fluids on you. Players proceed to put the orphan in a sack and swing him against a tree until he dies. What the f? Feel bad for laughing at that, but what the f, dude? Show at Casino Royale. Be me, Dwarf Paladin of Vengeance. Be not me, Insane Dragonborn Barbarian, Half-Elf Fighter, Edgelord Tiefling Sorcerer, Jewish Tiefling Wizard, and PTSD Cannibalistic Human, Cook and Ranger. Playing Storm King's Thunder. On the casino ship. Playing some blackjack. DM that the Ranger isn't role-playing. Ranger decides to have some fun. Made some poison candy prior to coming on the ship. Recruits the Sorcerer and Wizard to help him. Sorcerer casts invisibility on him, but almost got caught by the guards. Ranger sneaks into the kitchen and gets the candy into the food. Sneaks out, giggling like a maniac. Let the show begin. The candy forced everyone to vomit and get an erection at the same time. Character failed the save. So did the Barbarian and Fighter. And many people. Everywhere. Explosion of literal and vomit. Fighter almost shat his colon out. Barbarian broke the railings due to intense pain. Everything is smeared in Mages and priests come from Yartar to help everyone. Investigation started by my paladin. Zone of Truth made. Sorcerer and Wizard caught. Ranger was next. Ask him does he know what happened. He says yes. Hole up that JPEG. What did happen? Everybody shot themselves. Do you know who did it? Yes. Hole up that JPEG. Who? The cook did it. Who told you that? The voices. My character thinks this is just his normal insanity and lets him go. Mother got through the investigation while the wizard and sorcerer got caught. TLDR, Ranger poisoned most of the ship and got them to start vomiting and themselves, and later got through the Zone of Truth and exited a free man because my character and others thought he was just insane. Voice of an angel. You're confronted by the god of music who has given you his blessing. Your charisma has been boosted by 3 points and have gained the ability Voice of an Angel. This means that you can sing and your heavenly crooning will reduce antipathy and boost sympathy by individuals by 3 to 6 points for a turn. Stat boosting. How exciting! There are a few downsides though. In order for it to work, you must wear a fedora. All authority figures will suspect you have ties to criminal organizations. You only speak in a Jersey accent. Your singing is great, however it can be overshadowed by an elf with Bhaktiv and is more flaming than a fire elemental. You will inspire Seth MacFarlane to have a career. You will sooner or later have to join up 3 other guys that have the Voice of an Angel skill in order to stay relevant. How do you deal with phones at your table? Had a DM who had a clever way of dealing with this. Anyone who touches their phone without permission, or did anything that required discipline, must roll the Dice of Punishment. The Dice of Punishment was a big ass set of custom made percentage dice that were made out of solid iron. Each one weighed around 2.5 pounds. When I asked him why they were that heavy, he responded with, "One represents the weight of your actions, the other represents the weight of the punishment you face." But one thing I will always remember about this was the sound they made. These were no cheap-ass plastic Chessex dice. This was 5 pounds of industrial-grade iron hitting a cheap wooden table. It felt and sounded like a thunderstorm. Punishments would consist of anything from "your character gains disadvantage" to "you inadvertently pissed off a god, take a ton of damage." Unfortunately, the dice of punishment was causing the table to split due to overuse. The DM retired them shortly after. Bard. Custom song. Make charisma check. If successful, enemies cannot bring themselves to approach as if blocked by a magical barrier. Because after roll, there's a wondrous wall. God damn it. How can I make a badass no-kill policy character? Be me, ex-soldier turned cleric. Be a specialist in the field of exorcism. Be traveling across the Sword Coast performing exorcism. I don't do it for money. I do it for the happy little people. Anytime there is a possession, you can bet I will be there. My methods would seem unorthodox though. I do not use holy water, holy symbols, or even prayer. All I need is my trusty mace. My mace is my paintbrush. Coats the fiend's soul in pain. All I do is continue to beat the possessed into submission with continuous coats of pain. And after enough coats, the fiend will leave the host to run away in fear from me. I typically heal the victim from the wounds I caused in my assault. Once they are restored, I take my leave. But they always stop to get my name. I tell them it's Robert of the House Ross, and that my mace is my paintbrush. They thank me for beating the devil out of them. What do you do with captured foes? Sit them down with 4 of my followers, including myself. Make the prisoner teach me a game system. Consciously get the rules and items wrong on purpose at every given moment. Interrupt the prisoner while he or she is talking to ask dumb questions. Constantly fidget around with really loud snacks. Do this for months and years. God, you're a sick bastard. Player, I open the door into the next room. You see an orc armed with a battle axe guarding a chest. I enter into a frank and meaningful dialogue with the orc, validating his right to guard chests, but not pigeonholing him into a stereotype, in the hopes of restructuring the traditional adventurer-monster antagonistic relationship into something more positive and mutually beneficial. Roll 1d20 against your charisma skill. I succeed. The orc is moved by your rhetoric. Casting his battle axe aside, he sits down on the chest and invites you to join him in a brainstorming session about ways to revitalize the decaying subterranean infrastructure and society of the dungeon, perhaps with a... While he is distracted, I stab him with my sword. Trust nobody, not even yourself. Not even yourself. New group after several months. 6 people total. 2 can only make it once a fortnight, the rest can do weekly, no one wants to get left behind. Tell all the weekly players to make 2 character sheets, the fortnight players only need to make 1. Each week, we alternate between 2 campaigns. The first one is about 6 guys trying to escape an island where a prison was built. The second campaign is about 4 soldiers and their NPC pose, trying to track the escaped prisoners down. The island is recycled from an old campaign, so there is no need to do any world building. One of the campaigns is entirely based off of tracking their own fuck-ups from the previous session. The other campaign just sees me rolling on random encounter tables and pulling out old area maps from 4 years ago. Most of the time the party is arguing what they should do to survive or track themselves. Spend most of your time behind the DM screen being productive. Halfway through, make a betting pool on which character will survive the campaign. Put all your money on the paladin guard. Everyone else scoffs because only 4 out of the 6 prisoners are evil aligned. This goes on for about 8 months before they finally catch up with themselves, just as escaping party has managed to slay a sea god in order to make it possible to sail off the island. Sit back, relax, and watch as they try to TPK themselves while internally struggling over which character they have come to love will survive. Dust settles, and the leader of the guard party, the paladin, is left standing, having chopped the head off of an innocent sorcerer. The player was in control of both characters. Give a short epilogue for the paladin and take everyone out to dinner after winning bet pool. Spend entire dinner getting praised for all the effort you put in on making such a great campaign. Anyone else got any lazy GM great campaign stories? RPG stories. Share your recent tabletop stories. I'll start. Playing D&D. 5th edition. Playing a homebrew villains campaign to shake up the normal routine. Be me. Half-orc warlock. Group is tasked to blow up a town. Decide to steer some NPCs up for some and giggles. Go to the local tavern. Homebrew ability that lets me look into people's pasts. Find two dudes sitting next to each other. See one of the guys the other dude's wife. Cast message and start feeding the other dude's head with voices of how his wife is filled with infidelity and how his friend her every day. DM rolls a wisdom save. Critical fail. Anticipating a bar fight to break out. Nope. Dude, did you my wife? Yeah, what are you gonna do about it? Not gonna lie man, that's pretty hot. Can I watch next time? My face when I found the town cock. The oil gentleman. Well, TG, I ran my first game as GM today. All in all, it went pretty well. I set up a recurring NPC. I won't give you the exact details, but the party is traveling to a specific town. On their way, they come across an odd gentleman. Black skin, bald head, and a wide, jolly, almost perverted grin stretching across his face. Peak related, but I haven't shown any of my party yet. This gentleman walks up to the party and asks, "Hello boys, would you like to buy some oil? 1 gold apiece." The sorcerer casts firebolt at the bottle of oil he's holding to see if it's the real deal. The oil bursts into passionate flames and the bottle shatters. The man stands there, seemingly unharmed, smile still on his face. "So, what will it be, gentlemen?" The paladin tries to sense any evil intentions. None. They buy his entire stock, 15 bottles. The man then says, "Nice doing business with you." He then collapses into a puddle of oil, only his clothes and the fatty stain remaining. The party is understandably confused and yet intrigued. So, TG, what should I do with him? Make him a reoccurring character? A good spirit of oil? An eventual party member? Honestly, there's a lot of things I can do with him, I just haven't decided. Plays a paladin. Meets NPC in the woods. I mentioned party can feel powerful magic radiating off the NPC. I charge at him, swinging my sword. Doesn't even use detect evil, NPC was neutral goods in my notes. Just charges in because it seemed suspicious. Better yet, comes across slaves being treated like society he comes from does not practice chattel slavery. Slaves revolt occurs while he's in the area, asked to choose a side. Violently crashes the revolt and is mad when Peller reprimands him. Your character has a family in his backstory, a sow and a kid. By the second half of campaign, it turns out the kid is one of the main villains. Your reaction? I don't care what kind of angsty teenage phase you're going through. If you don't knock it off and go back to your mother, then I swear by Bahamut that I'm going to beat the evil out of you and then drag you back there. This, essentially. I'm out here doing my job. I'm going to beat the shit out of him so bad he'll give up villainy. Then we're going to share a quiet, awkward breakfast back at home, the wife being none the wiser. Curious as to why our son is in a full body cast. How common is monster among adventurers? We have a big problem with it. The monsters have started carrying pepper spray. Today's D&D. NPC, your quest is to clear the island. Barbarian, kill island. Yes, in a sense. Now, what you'll need to do is... Barbarian, throws axe into the ground. Island dead, pay Grong. Today's D&D. Druid, isn't nature beautiful, Grong? Look at that little bird. Barbarian, throws axe, cutting the bird in two. Meat is good. You want some of Grong's meat? Holding vomit emoji, puking out emoji. No, that's not good enough. Okay, let me try to do over that part, okay. Barbarian shrugs and stuffs bloody bird bits in his pocket. More of Grong. That is disgusting. D&D with 9-year-old niece. Okay, Miss Quinn, the dog-riding gnome is traveling down the road when she hears someone yelling for help. Who's yelling? There's a scared old man by the side of the road. A huge snake is wrapped around his leg and it looks like it wants to bite him. I'll grab a stick and hit him with it. Okay, to hit the snake you'll need to roll a... Not the snake. Be me. Semi-new player. Playing paranoid elven artificer. Have half-elf brother who is a sorcerer. Also brother in real life. Session starts. New town. Party is around in tavern. Drunk Goliath challenges party to fist fight. Wages gold tooth on it. Sorcerer wants the tooth and accepts. Manages not to be immediately decimated, but lose on a technicality. Sorcerer is salty as Rest of the party and the DM have a laugh. Later that night. Going to sleep when Sorcerer stops me in the hallway. He wants to steal the tooth. Got nothing better to do. Break into Goliath's room. Sorcerer tiptoes up to Goliath's bed. Do you got any pliers? God damn it, that JPEG. Starts frantically looking at my equipment for something moderately close to pliers. I got a crowbar. Insane smile.x. Roll to toss Roll to toss crowbar across the room. Natural 1. Crowbar clangs across the floor and the Goliath wakes up. Sorcerer grabs the crowbar and tries to whack Goliath, but Goliath grabs crowbar midair. Sorcerer casts Shocking Grasp on the crowbar. Goliath enters a coma. I look at the Sorcerer. Stuck in the middle, that MP3. Reenact the torture scene from Reservoir Dogs. Doing the tango with my rifle. Party is losing it. The DM is mortified. Sorcerer goes to take his prize. Strength check. Natural 20. Rips half of Goliath's teeth. Tear in my eye, that zip. Never been closer to my brother. My face when this poor Goliath made me the happiest psychopath on the planet. Ageist character conceivable. KnifeAge.jpg. The image is called KnifeAge.jpg and it's a knife. Okay. I ask a fun challenge from you. Write the ageist character you can conceive. One condition, of course, it must be a serious attempt. Dumping all the cliches and jokes in and calling it the ageist wouldn't work at all, because the comedic factor would overshadow tremendously the aginess and go against the whole point. So far I got male in his early 20s. Used to be an urchin who lived by catching and eating rats in the street or stealing. One day he was asked to murder someone for money. He did it. The contractor didn't want to pay, so he killed him too. On the wanted list since then. What else? Lucian Vale. Human assassin. Shortly after being born, his mother was killed by father, a rampaging plot device with a drinking problem. Physically abused him for years until he was 1 year old. Had to crawl and lick the butt sweat off of park benches for nourishment. His father, his last remaining family member, was killed by a king's servant to cover up a secret the family kept. Unbeknownst to Lucian, his true father is the god of murder, Baal. Lucian only survived by crawling out of a glass window and floating down a nearby stream. He was adopted by, I don't know, wolves or panthers or some shit. Through them, he learned to hide in the shadows and kill anything in any situation with any item for any reason. Okay. After many years had passed, his wolf family was slain by vampires. He had only one decision: join the vampires or die. He joined the vampires. He also got sexually assaulted by them at least once. The only cute vampire is a girl his age, who he falls madly in love with. Is morbidly, who the f*** is morbidly depressed, dude? I can't... Is it the guy? Or the vampire girl? Someone's morbidly depressed, whatever. She gives him a glimmer of true peace and hope and true love. And then she gets killed by a werewolf. The werewolf is a direct descendant of his now deceased wolf family. He also gets raped by either the werewolf, his girlfriend's older brother, a random vampire chad, or his girlfriend. Doesn't matter, one of those. Now he's caught in the midst of an unholy war between lycanthropes and vampires. Swears everlasting revenge to avenge his cutie big titty goth GF, and the unholy blood war between both his families. Ascend to the throne of the Lord of Murder, find the secret that resulted in his false father's murder, and avenge his mother by resurrecting his false father as a ghost and then killing him again. All while wearing tight, black, testicle-restricting armor, a Yu-Gi-Oh amount of belts, an Assassin's Creed-style black hood, and wielding 2 razor-sharp katanas. So, if my understanding is correct, in TG's ideal game, the party would get bossed around by a local lord to do their bidding, or would just not be allowed anywhere at all. And at some point during the session, the whole party would get wiped by a lone peasant with a crossbow or a gun, and the peasant would proceed to stand over the dead bodies and give a 75-minute long lecture about the effects the potato has on society. Meanwhile, everyone is jerking themselves off under the table. Is this correct? No, you buffoon. everyone jerks off the player to their right. Bottle of Max Healing Potion was designed for a different level of person. The bandit dies from a rapid tumor growth, clouding his lungs and filling his stomach, suffocating him in his own vomit and other fluids, as his stomach and every other surface fills with vile growths. The entire party takes d6 insanity damage. Potion was too strong for him? I warned you, traveler. My potions are too strong for a mere man.
You can't handle my strongest potions. No one can. My strongest potions are fit for a beast, let alone a man.
Whatever happened to that little girl that the party rescued on their first quest? She's grown up. She has become a rogue. She seeks out the man who killed her parents. Her parents were killed by the party rogue. My face when the cycle continues. That's how rogues procreate, Anon. No, I've heard this argument before. The average person has no idea who a warlock's patron is, or cares. What they see is a weird individual who is channeling the power of some extraplanar being. That spells a threat to everything that is good, whether or not the warlock sees her patron as good or whatever. A priest or cleric is part of an established institution, with customs and rhetoric to explain who they are and what role they play in the world. Even a priest of Asmodeus, although dark and sinister, is understood by the layperson, and does not invoke the visceral reaction some celestial dude guy zapping everything with his finger raised and babbling in the corner does. Adventurers do good. Brought before the king to receive praise and reward. Introduce yourselves. Warrior proclaims ideals. Monk proclaims discipline. Priest proclaims belief and service. Wizard proclaims careful study. Barbarian laughs and brags. Warlock proclaims devotion to some being in another dimension who wants something on this world. Yeah, burn him at the stake. How to elbow drop your dragon. Be me, the DM. Run a prison camp escape like it's Vorkuta. Step 1. Secure the keys. Step 2. Ascend from darkness. Step 3. Rainfire. Step 4. Unleash the Horde. Step 5. Skewer the Winged Beast. Step 6. Wield the Fist of Iron. Step 7. Raise Hell. Step 8. Freedom. Everything goes as planned steps 1 through 4. Dragon flies over camp. Players enter a building and obtain a large harpoon gun. Run to roof. Dude who imprisoned players is riding a dragon. Aim. Hit marker.jpg. NPC prisoners hold the rope and pull dragon down a bit. 150 feet up. Warlock uses magic carpet to fly towards the dragon. Arcane archer lands banishing shot on dragon. Pop.mp3. Harpoon hits the ground. Dude lands on harpoon. Ring of spell storing plus volley of arrows plus harpoon equals happy barbarian. Barbarian throws a volley of huge harpoons. Radit's chest hole.jpg. Dragon pops back in and sees dead master. Flies towards dead dude. Paladin uses Moonbeam on the dragon. Moonbeam has a height of 40 feet. Dragon lands. Warlock is on his carpet about 280 feet up above the dragon. I roll up the carpet.mp3. You what?.jpg. Warlock confirms action. I elbow drop the dragon. Warlock hits Moonbeam on the way down and triggers Tomb of Levistus. Ice blocked Warlock lands on Dragon Spine. 75 damage, killing Dragon. Warlock takes no damage. Party is guarding the site. Some of the PCs are paying attention to the woods. Suddenly, they hear a shrill war cry. Ah! And a loud whack. If the party goes to investigate, they find Don Quixote unconscious, lance embedded in a nearby tree, a confused mole wandering the area. If party chooses to get ready for battle in the site, they are supposed to guard. Have this repeat X amount of times for suspense before Don Quixote appears there. He, depending on your decision, offers to train the characters. Daggers equals spoon. Axes equals broom. Etc. silliness, referring to the PCs as squires or sable boys. Depending if you choose to let your player roll for it, or if you roll for it to actually benefit them, up to you. I personally would give them a small boon. Don Quixote wears gear, but it's composed of kettles and such trash strapped onto him, so they have no inclination to kill the character for loot. If they kill him, the kettle on his head is a +1 helmet. Remember to tell them about the beautiful painted flower patterns on the white but suited surface. Give him decent stats according to your party's level. Not good or great, just decent. He will refer to your party as goblins if engaged. If the party and this valiant knight interact peacefully, he wanders off quite quickly. His trail echoes with the sound of war cries as he fells yet another foe. If they became friends, let this valiant knight leave a gift. Maybe a sack of jewels, which are marbles, elixir of healing, which is a pot of Vaseline, maybe a stout shield, which is a chamber pot lid. Use your imagination. Include this item in a later encounter. Perhaps marbles can be used to open a puzzle? How do I make a Brock character? You give a barbarian a rock. You get Brock. Some barbarian with a giant stone maul. Barbarian holds up his weapon and yells, "Geodude, use tackle," before slamming the weapon into enemy faces. Out of combat, he talks to them all and tries to pop it. "Geodude, Geodude," replies out of it. Chaotic neutral versus chaotic evil. What's the functional difference between these two alignments? One acts like an irredeemable douche who commits crimes and plans to kill everything it sees, claiming it's totally what their character would do. The other one is chaotic evil. GM gave my human noble fighter a sweet magic ring that buffs me up good. I will assume that's sweet, not sweat. Apparently it's one ring of a set. 8 others went to some other humans out there. It's quite a rare relic also. There are some 7 others to some dwarves and some 3 others to some elves or whatever. And that's it. Seems like I've hit the jackpot, my dudes. Everything's going my way. So, who's wanna tell him? Your character is killed. They die in the last session of the campaign. Had this happen in one of my AL games. Had a kid who was playing a cleric but didn't seem interested in it. He would constantly act distant and was sort of blaze about the game in general. I pulled him aside on multiple occasions, asking if something was wrong. He would continuously tell me no and that he was enjoying the game. Feeling that I was just exaggerating the whole thing, I just shrugged it off. A few months go by and the party was at the final battle of the campaign. Before the session, the kid pulled me aside. He ended up telling me that he didn't like his character and wanted to play something else. When I asked him why, he told me that the party fighter, who was his IRL father, was controlling his character's development. He even yelled at him for trying to put in his own creative input. When I asked him why he didn't bring this up, he told me he was afraid of how his father would react. Understanding the situation, I asked the kid if he wanted me to dispose of his character. The kid nodded. I then informed the organizer of what I was going to do and got his permission to kill the kid's character. I pulled the kid aside and told him my plan as to not make it obvious of what was about to happen. Fast forward to the end of the final battle. The big bad evil guy was on his knees pleading for his life. I tell the party to decide on his fate. When the party is debating, I tell them that suddenly the big bad evil guy unsheathed his daggers and lunged towards the fighter. The kid then said he wanted to push the fighter out of the way. I had him roll an athletics check. Wasn't necessary, it was just for a show. He rolled a 12. I told him that he was successful in pushing the fighter out of the way, but he wasn't successful in dodging the attack. I told him that it was an instant kill. Enraged, the fighter killed the big bad evil guy. The kid came back to the next session with a new character of his own design and was happy to be playing it. Edgy rogues versus edgy paladins. Chaotic evil rogue. I still don't get it. If we're the same alignment, why are you so much better at being evil than me? Chaotic evil paladin. True evil is born through pain and loss. You see, when I was a small boy back in Phandalin, I had a toy train. Then one day, I lost it. That's it? What do you mean? What's your emotionally scaring backstory? That's your great tragedy? Dude, I was raised by ocelots. Well, how did you feel when you lost that toy train? Well, I'd never lost that toy train. Well, maybe if you had, you would have done better. Players lost in ruin trying to evade the Medusa, but they've lost track of her. Where is she? I don't know, let me check. I peek around the corner and roll a spot. Are you sure you want to... 19. Booyah. Plus 12 is 31. What do I see? Well, what everyone else sees is you look around the corner and turn to stone. Hell. Baby boomer. Alright, your mission is to rescue the princess. The catch? There's an ancient red dragon guarding her that has killed thousands of adventurers throughout the years. Gen X. The catch? She's actually half Lamia and will devour you whole if she develops feelings with you. Also, this dungeon will be sick and you'll die unless you min-max to hell and back. Millennial. The catch? She ran away willingly because she's a lesbian and didn't want to marry the prince. She's in a consensual relationship with the daughter of the pirate captain. Zoomer. The catch? The dragon guarding her is actually a Lovecraftian great one, will drive you insane, and there is actually no princess. The queen was infertile and died many years ago. the king discovered he was in a game world and accidentally summoned the Great One into the world. The peasants are going to revolt because the disappearance of the princess led them to believe the king is actually a cockroach in disguise, and the princess can't be found because she's a small cockroach. The peasants are going to revolt, so you'll have to perform guard duty for the foreseeable future when you get back. Also, this is gonna be really hard, like Dark Souls, and oh my god, is that cultist wearing a tabard with an octopus on it? Oh god, my head is shuddering uncontrollably. Pukes blood after failing fortitude check. Real talk for a minute? Zoomer actually sounds way more interesting, and Millennial sounds wholesome. How do I make a pumpkin patch scary? The party is walking through a pumpkin patch. They were here on a mission, but can't seem to remember what it was. They have been walking for what seems to be days, but can't seem to find a way out. Sam the Bard got bored with all the walking. To entertain himself, he decided to carve a jack-o'-lantern. Once he finished, he carved his name into the side as a way to claim his work. He then left it behind and continued onwards into the patch with his party. After an hour of walking, they noticed that they still can't find a way out. Everywhere they look, there is nothing but acres of farmland with nothing but pumpkins. With the day turning into night, the party decides to set up camp and continue in the morning. As they gather around the fire, Sam decides to take a piss. But he wasn't 10 steps away when something caught his eye. It was the same jack-o'-lantern he made earlier. But something about it was different. The skin was wrinkled. The holes were browning and beginning to sag. A putrid stench permeated the air around it. It was almost as if it had been laying there for a week. As he turned to tell the rest of his party, what greeted his eyes was a horrific sight. His party was gone and the fire snuffed out. He was alone in the patch. His mind filled with fear and regret. Regret for straying from his party. Regret for deciding to stop for the night. Regret for even deciding to go to the patch. But then, a cold realization raced across his mind. He couldn't remember the names of his party members, or even if they existed at all. He couldn't remember who he was or why he came to the patch. But more horrifically, he doesn't even remember entering the patch. It was as if he had been in the patch all his life. As this haunting realization hit his mind, he looked up to see all the pumpkins were jack-o'-lanterns. All individually carved with unique faces. None were the same, but all had the word Sam carved on the side. In a generic D&D setting, DM bestows upon your character rulership over all kinds of fungus. A bit magically boosted rulership so you can really emphasize some fungal traits. How would you make use of your powers? Be me. Gain the power of all fungus. Decide to develop new abilities. Find a way to spray pure psilocybin at my enemies. Eventually create an aura of psilocybin around myself. Enemies become docile around me. Eventually all my foes become my friends. They all enjoy my presence. They all call me a fungi. Anon finds out where new DMs come from. Be me. Be not me. Neutral evil wizard and DM. We got level 17 at the end of last session. We start next session and the wizard decides to speak. I cast wish in order to become god. DM gets up from his seat and walks over to neutral evil wizard's player. My face went. DM suplexes wizard and throws him into his chair. Wizard tries to stand up but is magically pulled back into DM's chair. DM screams victory screech because he no longer has the DM's curse. Wizard's face when he realizes he's going to be a DM forever. Old DM runs away. Haven't seen him since. Post monsters who, no matter how dangerous, will never be taken seriously for one reason or another. Spanner. Spanners, also called living bridges, were originally created to help guard a certain wizard's tower, but have since escaped into the wilderness. I should write something. To understand how terrifying these things really are, they can span gaps of up to 180 feet, which is equivalent to 55 meters, such as over a massive, yawning chasm with no visible bottom, and their standard attack is to just chill, pretend to be a bridge, wait until you're halfway across, and then form a hole under your feet so you fall through them. A spanner over a 200 feet deep chasm, or 60 meters, deals 20d6 damage and doesn't even need to roll to hit. This, however, will not prevent anyone from rolling their eyes at the mere fact of its existence. Introducing 4 brand new players to the world of D&D. Simple level 1 tasks. Innkeeper asks if the party can help him with a huge rat problem in his basement. Party spends a couple minutes gathering necessary supplies to trap all the rats. Into basement cellar. Not dozens of regular rats. One huge rat big enough to eat a player character. I do this same joke to every poor bastard that plays their first game with me, every time. Wizard who got tired of fighting and casts up unethical spells like Super Brain Hemorrhage to end them faster. One time I did summon water inside the guy's lungs and the GM allowed it because he had been playing for years and never seen anyone do that. Me. I can raise the temperature of a space by 5 degrees per success. DM. Okay. And that's 6 successes, so 30 degrees. Okay. And inside the human body is a space, right? I don't like where this is going. So I'm going to raise the temperature inside his body 30 degrees. DM. Yeah, so he's dead now. He was fine and then went through all the stages of heat stroke in half a second before his body went, no thank you, and just shut off to stop it from being so hot. Good job. I am still convinced that Command Skeleton can be cast on the living. Oh god, that's so f***ed up. What the f***? That's f***ed up. Edgy Rogues versus Edgy Paladins. Chaotic Evil Rogue. I still don't get it. If we're the same alignment, why are you so much better at being evil than me? Chaotic Evil Paladin. True evil is born through pain and loss. You see, when I was a small boy back in Phandalin, I had a toy train. Then one day, I lost it. That's it? What do you mean? What's your emotionally scaring backstory? That's your great tragedy? Dude, I was raised by ocelots. Well, how did you feel when you lost that toy train? Well, I'd never lost that toy train. Well, maybe if you had, you would have done better. Healing potion. Are there other effective ways of taking healing potions other than drinking them? Maybe as a topical agent for wounds? Can they be IV injected? Does it have antiseptic properties? Can it be poured directly onto wounds without the risk of an infection? Does it have a generic name as opposed to heal potion? Any contraindications or interactions with other potions? What are the signs of an allergic reaction? Fighter. I drink my grand healing potion. Unfortunately, the potion is too powerful. It will cause tremendous pain if ingested and may cause poisoning. Okay, I'll use it like a topical ointment. The contents have acidic properties when oxidized. If you put it on your skin, it will start to burn and may cause skin deterioration. What? Okay, I inject it. Due to it being a coagulant, if you inject the potion into your bloodstream, you will develop a blood clot and eventually cause either a heart attack or a stroke. How the fuck am I supposed to use it if I can't drink it, smear it, or inject it? Upon looking at the bottle, you notice the word suppository written in small letters. I suggest you drop throw and roll a constitution check. Fuck, not a suppository, no. Our party's rogue still won't speak to me. You'd think she'd be more appreciative I saved her from the dragon. Listen, the dragon is at half health and you're almost dead. Let me jam this glass bottle up your ass. Playing session right now. Didn't outright state I was following the party to a group of goblins. DM decides we start 500 meters away. Okay man, that's up from the DM. What the hell? My face when I'm too far away to even get asked to roll initiative and the player is dead. Just been sitting here while shit is going down. So this is what those 1200 feet Eldritch Blast meme builds are prepared for. Hold the f up. Players go to a sketchy town looking to bust crime lord. They know there's undercover knights working towards the same goal here too. At a tavern. Waitress is a 10-year-old girl. Is actually one of the knights. A gnome under disguise self. Looking to bust child molesters and human traffickers. Starts flirting with them to bait them in. Everyone rightfully creeped out by this girl. They explain what they're here for. Oh, okay. Meet me in the back so I can clarify things, they say in their actual voice. Players say f that and don't follow her. Complete their objective without her help. One IRL year later, campaign ends. Your game was really cool, Anon, except for that one time you played a child trying to get into my pants. What the f, man? Explain everything to them. Haha, sure man. Kill me. My name is Eric, with a K. Writes name down. And your last name? With a K. No, I got that. Eric. What's your last name? My last name is with a K. Wait, is your name Eric? My last name is with a K. Okay, Wait a minute, so to clarify, my last name is literally the phrase with a K. It is all one word. Finishes writing. So review the document to make sure I got this right. No, I spelled Eric with a C. Every D&D podcast. Enemies never surrender or retreat. 20 minutes later. DM. Wow, real up that you killed them. This reminds me of a DM I played with. Went to my local shop wanting to play D&D. Joined what was supposed to be a tier 1 Adventurers League game. Everyone who was playing was pretty chill. The DM, however, was a masochistic He has us fight enemies that are way too powerful for a group of first levels. For example, he had us go up against 8 orcs and 2 ogres in one encounter. He would randomly give disadvantage to anyone who he felt was cheating, which basically meant actually doing well in battle. Would reroll any attack roll he didn't like. He told our wizard that he had to roll a 20 for him to cast a cantrip. He told me that my rage only lasted a single round. I wasn't sure if he was either trolling us or if he was not familiar with the game at all, but it certainly wasn't an Adventurers League game with all his stupid rules. The final straw was when we were attacked by a bugbear. Keep in mind, the bugbear attacked us. The bugbear was a f***ing nightmare due to the DM giving it what he thought was 10x its normal health, a sword that did 100 damage a hit, and regeneration. It took us 3 f***ing hours to kill this thing. 2 of our party members died, 1 was unconscious, and the paladin and I were on death's door when the paladin killed him with one final swing of his hammer. But right as we thought it was over, the DM piped up. DM, as you look at the body of the bugbear, you realize that it was not trying to harm you. Paladin, what do you mean? It attacked us first. DM, it doesn't matter, he was an innocent being. As Pence, your god decides to strike you down. You are now dead. At this point I f***ing lost it. What the absolute f*** is wrong with you? The DM looked at me. Do you want to be next? If not, I suggest you shut your mouth. Once he said this, I had enough of his shit and decided to just leave. I never saw that guy ever again, and I hope I never do. May have gone a bit overboard on the vicious mockery this time. Be me, Bard. Be not me, the brainwashed cultists the party is fighting. Cultists are trying to break out of their bedrooms that the warlock blocked with some ice. In the meantime, start hurling out vicious mockery since it doesn't require line of sight. I like to say actual in-character insults to flavor my bard spells. On the last one, say, you're weak and this is why your father left you. Rolls max damage for vicious mockery for the first time this campaign. DM rolls a natural 1 on the save. Cultist just stops fighting, sits on his bed and rethinks his life. Deal with the other cultists before we realize there's one person still alive. We walk in to finish up the fight. Cultist is just sitting there, staring forward and asking, does life have any meaning? We just close the door and agree that the fight is already over. The local politician summons your group to request that they beat up and intimidate the son of an upper middle class family. The reason being that the boy is in a relationship with his youngest daughter, and he, along with his wife, wants a marriage that would be beneficial to the family's socioeconomic status. The politician will reward you with money and will use his influence to clear you of any wrongdoing. What do, TG? I start recording the conversation and then bring it to the press to defame the politician. Support the politician. Interclass relationships must be put at an end. The rich elite have no reason to mingle with the bourgeoisie. Wouldn't that ruin your reputation with other politicians? Sounds like a bard idea. New idea for a D&D adventure. Band of a few bards touring together. Going from town to town, but little appreciation for their art. Townsfolk mock them, not mock up. Break their loots and chase them away. Bards now set on revenge. Bards form a terrorist group. Bards against humanity. Worst character ideas. Warlock. Pact of the Fiend. Female character, male player. Fine so far. Player wants to justify playing a female character. You don't need to, buddy. Fiend patron is powered by abortions. Oh no. Warlock actively tries to have as many abortions as possible, getting impregnated by strangers and then having a ritualistic abortion sacrifice once a month. There's no way this could get worse. Names each of her aborted children and calls out those names as she uses Eldritch Blast, which takes the form of spectral flying fetuses. Yeah, this has to be one of those, like, top 10, maybe top 5 even, most f***ed up stories that I've got to read. Jesus, what the hell, man. I was going to post something myself, but then I saw this, and no way in hell am I going to beat that. Thread's over, pack it, folks. I'd allow it. Fetus deletus. An orphan girl has been placed into the care of your party. Can your party properly handle this? I don't think so. The barbarian and fighter would put her into dangerous situations. The sorcerer might teach her to play with fire. The warlock will most likely trade her soul for more power. The rogue is most likely the reason she is an orphan. What are the most impressive fuck-ups that you, your party, or players have committed, TG? Party are in the settings equivalent of the Vatican City to investigate a dungeon beneath the city that part of sewers collapsed into. Non-divine magic is basically treated as blasphemy and heresy against the gods. If you practice any magic not given by the gods, you're basically a witch. Party wizard gets herself into the city by passing herself off as an archaeological scholar with interest in the ruins. Right before we head down into the dungeon, the church sends a cleric NPC with us. Cleric NPC introduces himself and then asks us more about ourselves. Dumbass that guy rogue immediately cuts us off and begins speaking. Whatever, at least he's roleplaying for once instead of trying to kill or steal stuff. Goes over all of the players and gets to the wizard. Yeah, she's from the academy up in Jorin, so if we need to blow anything up with fireballs, she's got this. My face when I'm the wizard. Commoners have one hit die. Stubbing your toe twice in the same day can kill the average commoner. Not getting 6+ hours of sleep every night kills demigods. Already stubbed my toe once today. Sitting in bed, trying not to die. Fuck, I left the campfire on. Attempt to go put it out. Get the bucket, begin to fill it with water. So far, so good. Fuck, I got a splinter. Pass out. Wake up. House on fire. Such is the life of a peasant. That's a sad life. Got hurt during the day. Go to bed. Fall asleep. Die due to falling damage. Such is the life of a peasant. When I first started playing D&D, the GM gave us pre-made characters to speed things along on a tutorial quest. I got a cleric, and reading through the abilities I was super hyped. We got ambushed by a mixture of zombies and skeletons, and I rolled high enough to go first. So I turn to the GM and say, I used Turn Undead to become a zombie too, so I can talk our way out of this. They shouldn't attack me because I'm one of them, right? You pure cinnamon bun, I can't stop laughing. I pick up the child. Roll strength. Be me. UA Warforged Barbarian with 20 strength. Be not me. Halfling Bard, Dragonborn Cleric, and Lizard Folk Paladin. We go to visit Bard's family home, for reasons I can't remember. Bard's niece is being loud and annoying, so my gentle-souled Barb tries to do that thing from The Lion King. DM. Roll strength. Me. Alright, 17 plus 5, so 22. You pick up the child and slam her into the ground, killing her instantly and turning her into meat jelly. What the fuck, dude? I couldn't read it without laughing. I tried to hold it. I tried, okay, I tried holding it. I can't. What the fuck? What the fuck? That JPEG. Child's mom gets angry, understandably. Dragon Bro has to use our 1 diamond to resurrect child. Bard makes me leave his home and leaves the group. Q, me trying to explain that rolling high shouldn't mean failure, and if I can lift a wagon, I can lift a child. DM essentially goes, well, shouldn't have rolled so high. Not the only story I have from this group, and certainly not the only one about the DM, because that motherfucker has no idea what he was doing. Quickest player death. D&D storytime. I was running the first session of a new campaign. Everyone starting at level 1. We had an elf druid, a half-elf ranger, dragonborn sorcerer, and a tiefling rogue. As the party was going through introductions. 5'2", 90 pounds, tiefling. I don't like to be touched. 6'3", 250 pounds, dragonborn. I pat her on the head. Tiefling. I bite his hand. Okay, so you bite his hand? Roll to hit? Rolls natural 20. Roll 1d4 damage? Rolls 4. Doubles to 8. Dragonborn sorcerer only has 8 health. Okay, so you bite his hand off and he's now bleeding out. No one has any healing pots or magic. All level 1 characters. Dragonborn rolls 3 on death save. Next save, natural 1. Dragonborn is dead. Tiefling. I said I don't like to be touched. That guy cheats on his rolls. Constantly. Gets caught and called out on it dozens, maybe hundreds of times over the years. One night, DM gives an ultimatum. That guy can eat his own d20 or be permanently kicked from the group. That guy thinks he is kidding. If I'm being honest, so did the rest of us. The DM is not kidding that JPEG. That guy actually does it. He swallows his whole D20, an opaque green opalescent D20 with black numbers. I will never forget it. All of us just sit there in stunned silence for a minute and then awkwardly resume the game. Several sessions later, we're getting set up for another game. That guy pours out his dice. That D20 is back, sans the paint on most of its numbers. I will never forget the expression of simultaneous rage, horror and disgust portrayed on the DM's face. This one's a yikes from me. Mage with the power to replace or remove a single letter in a spell. Be me. Mage who has become so good at casting magic, I can make my own spells on the fly. Also, I might owe my ability to some devil I gave my soul to. Be not me. Barbarian and target for most of my spells. Likes eating and fighting. Human fighter and observer to my craziness. Likes fighting and women. Original, I know. New player. Start of campaign, I only have shitty first level spells and cantrips. Usual tavern meetup.lazy. Town is getting attacked by a bunch of bandits for no apparent reason. I decide to try out my special ability. I cast light, but turn it into fight. The battlefield lights up a dark crimson and every sentient entity that steps inside the 60-foot circle is forced to join the fight, driven by hate and violence. Cool that whip. Villagers start joining, getting slaughtered while doing so. Not cool that oh well. Kids join the fight, also get slaughtered. That's not good, that PNG. A single puppy gets turned inside out while trying to fight. Now you did it, that mad. Shoot off another light spell that I made into might instead at our barbarian. Barbarian gains advantage on all strength and attack rolls for 60 seconds. Barbarian goes ape on everything in a fit of rage, taking about 18 seconds to kill every bandit in the area. At the end of the battle, we discover a bandit that was hiding in a bush, so we decide to interrogate him. Everything the barbarian and fighter do fails. We do see that it's a religious person though. Makes me get an idea. I flip through my spellbook. Ah yes, protection from evil and good. How about I cast protection from evil and god? It sends the bandit into tears to see the influence of his god fade into nothing, for I had severed the connection between them. Now he's existing in a neutral void, no gods and no evils, neither heaven nor hell, for about 10 minutes or so, but we didn't tell him that. Find out that they have a camp up in the mountains and we prepare to burn the camp the next day after leveling up. I get the ability to modify 2 letters now. The spell Grease graces me with its existence. Yes. I cast geese at the barbarian. A flock of geese shoot out from my hand onto the barbarian. They are armed with small knives and a honk attack that stops concentration spells and forces us to run away from the honker. A bunch of months later, we're fighting against the big bad evil guy, who is a mage. A mage that uses concentration magics a lot. That thing. I cast geese. Everyone looks dumbly at me. Now is not the time for memes. We're struggling here. I cast it at 8th level. Dude, why are you wasting? I dual cast geese at 8th level. All their eyes go wide as the literal goosenado appears out of my hands. DM and party are both gasping for air as the scene unfolds, and the big bad evil guy is slowly consumed by a tornado of geese and honking noises. My face when I unlocked a secret subclass, the Goosomancer. Battle of the Bards, or How a King Lost Faith in His Most Trusted Advisor. Playing short one-shot to introduce little cousins to game. Brother DMing, I play Bard. Invited to castle for some reason. Meet King's Advisor. I'd like to be the Royal Bard. The Bard position is filled. Wait, just hear me out. Pull out loot and play a song. Natural 20 on performance check. House rule is natural 20 is equal to 30 plus modifiers. In before house rule is broken. It's more balanced than auto successes. Anyway, dude is in tears. Most beautiful song he's ever heard. But you'll have to be the current bard in musical battle. Battle of the Bards is announced tomorrow night. All day, the advisor is talking me up to the king. Battle starts. I describe how I use prestidigitation and major reimage to put on a laser light show and make it look like I'm flying. Out of character. Do I get advantage? DM.
Normally, yes, but this is a royal court. This is pretty much the norm here. Fair enough. Battle is 3 songs each, back and forth. I didn't roll above an 8. Competitor didn't roll below 16. Booed out of court. My face when the advisor's execution is announced the next day. So there's this cult called the Order of the Crystal Moon. And last session, my players were searching an abandoned castle, and I wanted them to figure out that it used to be a meeting place for this cult. I had them find a necklace with a crystal moon on it, but I didn't say crystal moon, so they could figure it out. Well, here's a list of ways I worded it before they realized. Diamond in a crescent shape. Crystal in a crescent shape. Crescent-shaped clear gem. Crescent-shaped crystal. Gem in a moon shape. Crystal in a moon shape. Crystal moon. Yes, I literally had to have an NPC say, looks like it's a crystal moon, before they got it. I think toddlers have replaced my players. My Warforged Warlock got wiped out from existence. First post here. I told my friend this story and he told me it would be a shame not to share it with the world. So, be me, a Warforged Hexblade Warlock. An absolute edgy the hedgy. Party consisted of yours truly, a stoic half-orc paladin, a grumpy monk Goliath, a drunkard rogue dragonborn, a cheerful bard goblin, and an optimistic barbarian tiefling. No one liked anyone. Well, that's off to a good start. Fast forward to 4 sessions later. Everyone started to tolerate each other. Some of us were best friends even. My Warforged, the goblin, and the tiefling. One session, we successfully defeated an evil warlock, looted her castle. I found myself a crystal ball. Asked the DM what's the deal with this crystal ball. DM, it can reverse time. But in order to do that, it must consume the time you've had in this rail. The whole party told me to check it away, but I decided to keep it anyway. Fast forward to 2 sessions later. The party decided to take a job. Must defeat a mad alchemist in the morning. Still nighttime, the party was split. The half-orc, Goliath and Dragonborn went out for a drink. Me, the goblin and the tiefling decided to go to the village's festival. Found a painter and decided to commission him to draw the 3 of us together. Morning came. Mission time. Reached the mad alchemist's crib. Our paladin half-orc. Everything's gonna be okay. Easy money this one. LMAO nope.jpg. Encountered the mad alchemist, fought him a bit, and shit went south fast. The mad alchemist had created a magical bomb that could decimate an entire village. The mad alchemist decided to activate the bomb. Mad alchemist.
I'm taking you all down with me.
Everyone died. The players were shocked. Except for yours truly. Your boy had a magical shield surrounding him. Only a few scratches and maybe a bit melty. Confused. Remembered about the crystal ball. Asked the DM, can I use the crystal ball and earn back time? DM, yes you can, but you will be wiped away from history. Decided to do the right thing. Said yes without hesitation. My friends, the goblin and tiefling players, got super upset. Broke the crystal ball. Time got reversed. Back to a few hours ago, right before the party left to try and defeat the alchemist. The party, confused, felt like something's off. Everyone checked on themselves. The tiefling pulled out the portrait. There's only her and the goblin now. Our tiefling. You guys, something is off. I don't feel like going forward with this mission. A small, heated debate. Settled with a couple of dice rolls. The party went to the employer's place to return his down payment. As they were going home, they walked past by a blacksmith. DM. As you walk past by the blacksmith, the sounds of metals changing, hammers pounding, they remind you of something you never had, but lost anyway. Talking is better than fighting. Since there's already a Godbound story here, I'll tell one of my own. Playing a gunslinger, using a martial strife, magic martial art, kind of like an Exalted, to let me shoot stuff better. Pantheon mates are a dragon and an assassin. This is our second session, and the GM spent the first talking about how he needed to let us level up in that one, because his encounter in the second session was so hard, even though the first session was basically just character creation. We are tracking a group of bandits that butchered the village. Assassin discovers that we are being followed by an old monk, who was using powerful martial arts techniques to keep himself hidden. Whatever.jpg, we stop and talk to him. Monk thinks that we killed everyone in the village, even though all we did was bury the bodies and scavenge some rations and water for traveling. Roll diplomacy to tell him we didn't kill anyone and we're tracking the real killers. GM didn't think that we'd actually try talking to the monk, and he doesn't actually have a good reason to disbelieve us. Monk travels with us. We get to the bandit's lair. Bandits have a small army, a 40 HD golem. For context, there are angels with fewer hit dice, and the bandit leader. Assassin sneaks in and kills the entire army without being noticed, because he's just that good. Golem has way too many hit dice for us to handle, but my new monk friend has insane damage output and kicks its ass single-handedly. Bandit leader runs like a bitch, and that's why stopping and talking to people tends to work in your favor. D&D is for nerds. Be me, new DM, running Curse of Strahd for friends who got me into hobby. Want to do it as a thank you for introducing me to D&D. Going well. I feel very confident in my DMing and everyone has a good time. Group is very small, only 2 players. Was free, but one quit D&D after their 3rd ever session because they realized their monk has bad wisdom and monks need wisdom. Tried to compromise, just wouldn't respond and clearly just didn't really care enough to keep playing. If I can't min-max, what's the point? Ask other friends to play. D&D is for friends. D&D is for nerds. So no. But you obsess over 40k and Star Wars. Every time I see you, I somehow listen to you rant about a dead franchise for 50 minutes before you then rant about Vulcan from 40k for another 50 minutes. Yeah, but D&D is for nerds. The idea of it grosses me out. You just spent the last hour complaining to me about the pre-sequels and newer Star Wars films. You even referenced the Star Wars books and sent me screenshots from the comic books to prove your point that I don't even understand because I haven't seen Star Wars. Yeah, but I just refuse to put up with D&D. It's the nerdiest that I've ever seen. Glanced at his 40k orc figurines and sweat profusely as I try to be civil. Well, can you please just do it for one session? I'll even make you a character, and if you don't like it, I'll never bother you about it again. I just want a few more players at the table. You don't see me forcing my passions onto you. My face when I listen about franchises I don't care about because he's passionate about them. My face when I paid for tickets to a Star Wars movie I didn't want to see. My face when I got on for playing a board game once a week with friends. My face when he still force feeds me lore from Stellaris, XCOM, Star Wars, Elder Scrolls Online and The Witcher. My face when I, the Chad, am being insulted by him, the Virgin, dying 12 hours after the combat. First time playing D&D. Show up 10 minutes late. Never seen a D20 in my life. DM hands me a character he made. Level 2 Dragonborn Sorcerer. I can make this work. First combat begins. Cultists working in a mine. DM pulls out grid map. Holy shit, it's like Fire Emblem. Decide to keep my distance since I only have like 10 health. Go 2 squares away from the pack of cultists because that's the maximum distance mages can attack from in Fire Emblem. Cast Magic Missile. Hit each of them once. None of them die. They swarm me and I'm at 0 health. One of them kicks me. 2 fail death saves. Rest of party don't heal me. Fail my next death saving throw, dead within 30 minutes of playing. DM pities me and says my character survived the combat. Play the rest of the session, have a good time, instantly hooked. Me and Paladin barely survive escaping the seedy tavern we were in after pissing off the gang hiding in there. Accidentally burn it down in the process with my fire breath. Bros for life. Can't wait to finish the adventure. Love my Dragonborn Sorcerer. Session ends. 3 days later. Oh my god, I'm sorry. Okay. 3 days later. Text from DM. My character died in his sleep because the DM doesn't give out freebies. I regret taking True Polymorph. After 1 year and a half, I finally hit level 17 as a warlock. Get True Polymorph. Haha, I'm invincible now. Fight a level 20 Tempest Storm Cleric. She has some sort of thunder weapon. First time using True Polymorph. Get an amazing idea. I'll just turn into a Storm Giant and be immune to her. Turn into Storm Giant, 230 health, immune to all her thunder and lightning damage. I am invincible. First round of initiative. She goes first. She crits me. DM asks to roll a Constitution saving throw. Roll a 14. I die. God damn it, dude. Oh fuck, man, I'm so sorry. She had a hammer of thunderbolts. a legendary instant kill giant slaying weapon when it hits with a crit. I feel silly. Okay, no. Okay, never mind. It all ends kinda well in the end, so okay. Edit. Don't worry, my character's alive. Raw, I should have died. DM, homebrewed it, so I dropped just... Okay, again, I'm not having a stroke, it's just the text, okay. DM homebrewed it, so I just dropped polymorph and started at half health, as it was such a weird circumstance. We knew she had Hammer of Thunderbolts before we fought her, I just didn't know it instantly killed giants. Attacks were rolled publicly, and the crit was naturally rolled. The Bard will always save the day in a way you never expect. Gonna keep this as short and sweet as possible. Be me. DMing a group of 3 players. Today, Half-Elf Bard, Elf Ranger, and Half-Orc Rogue. Original plan for the session was gonna be teen slasher movie. A bunch of teens show the party around the sewers on the way to find flares to light explosives to defeat the zombie army sieging the town, while the teens do teen things and get picked off one by one. Ham-fisted the execution, but still made the teens look like irresponsible kids, so that's fine. Kid accidentally lights grenade, throws it in munitions room to keep the party safe from explosion. There are explosives in this universe, but not real guns. Causes the eldritch blob that is a scourge of the sewers and the old keep to arise. Kid throws another grenade, only succeeds in making another monster appear. Going for all-out body horror at this point during combat. Reskinned 2 gibbering mouthers for this boss, going balls to the wall on scaring the party and making them feel insane. Bard starts respectively screaming, "Santa Claus is coming to town!" Who is Santa Claus? Bard starts casting spells using Christmas songs. Both the other players are being recklessly useless. I'm fearing a TPK. One's attacking with a dagger and the other is dodging for no reason. Bard uses pipes of the sewers to bring forth 3 flashy rat swarms and fight the monster. I'm thinking, oh yeah, this fight is gonna be good and scary. Bard discovers Shatter. Arcane Trickster discovers Ice Knife. Bard decides to spend the rest of the fight using Shatter, loudly playing Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You on his IRL kazoo. Kills a monster with Shatter. 3rd level Shatter on the other monster, accompanied with an Ice Knife from the Arcane Trickster. My face when my party defeated an Eldritch Abomination with a Christmas carol that they were all singing by the time the fight ended. Our music bot is now playing the song. Eldritch Horror explodes into snow and ice. Everyone is laughing so hard they're crying. My party is the best and I hate them. As it should be. Punch Villa Warlock. D&D Pancho Villa Warlock. Buenos dias, boy. DM starts a Western D&D set campaign. One PC wants to play as a stereotypical Mexican cowboy. He ends up playing Pancho Villa. Yes, he used that name. The Pancho Villa Warlock becomes the leader of the party. Okay, quick learning time. Francisco Pancho Villa was a Mexican revolutionary general and one of the most prominent figures of the Mexican Revolution between 1878 and 1923. The campaign is full of fun and stereotypes. Pancho Villa Warlock becomes the sheriff of Death Creek. Cliché outlaw gang invades the town. Pancho Villa Warlock kills the big bad evil guy, but Pancho dies moments later because of the fight wounds. The campaign ends after 8 sessions. Everyone had a great time. Days later, the D&D group reunites for a new campaign. Pancho Villa Warlock player comes in shock. He talked with his family about the Western campaign, told his parents about how fun it was to play a Mexican Revolution hero. He ended up finding out that the real-life Pancho Villa his great-grandmother for real.